Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show, the voice of the DSO industry. Join us as we talk with industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. With over 200 episodes and listeners in over 100 countries, we're proud to be ranked the #1 DSO podcast. For the latest DSO news, analysis, and events, and to subscribe to our DSO weekly e-newsletter, visit groupdentistrynow.com. We hope you enjoyed today's show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show. I'm Bill Newman, and as always, we appreciate you joining us today. We've got I love doing these podcasts. I come from a clinical background. I worked for a dental manufacturer and worked with a lot of restorative hygiene, some endodontic products, and love to geek out about different solutions. And we're gonna talk clinical. So if you are a dentist or hygienist or clinical director, or if you're on the business side of dentistry and you're working in procurement and want to learn more about dental products, this is definitely going to be a great podcast for you. You're going to learn a lot today. So we have with us two guests, actually two new guests to the show. We have Katelyn Short, and she is the DSO manager for Essential Dental Systems. You might know them as EDS Dental. And we have Shawna Greer. She is an RDH, a registered dental hygienist, and she has a lot of experience working in a group practice or a DSO setting. So Katelyn and Shawna, thank you both for being on today. It's great to talk to you both.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, great. Katelyn, why don't we kick things off with you? If you wouldn't mind just kind of filling in the audience about your background and your, maybe what you did prior to joining EDS and what your role is at Essential Dental Systems.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started in the dental field working as a chairside assistant for several years. And then in 2022, I transitioned over to EDS, and I'm their special markets account manager. So in this role, I really enjoy working side by side directly with DSOs, onboarding and educating their clinicians on innovative solutions that enhance clinical outcomes and practice efficiency. And it's been really, really neat to see both sides of the dental field and utilize that experience as a dental assistant in this current role.
Yeah, and it's great that you have that clinical background. I'm sure you that gives, I think, you an edge as a salesperson, and I think it resonates with a lot of clinicians. And sometimes you get somebody that maybe is really good at sales, but maybe doesn't necessarily have that clinical background where you understand the actual applications, the day in and day out with the solutions that EDS Central Dental Systems has. Shawna is she's a hygienist, and she's actually worked in several DSO settings and group practice settings. So Shawna, thank you for being here. Can you talk a little bit about your experience and background?
Absolutely. I graduated from dental hygiene school in 2016, and I worked for the same office since graduating. And we were previously one DSO, and then another DSO bought that DSO out. So I've essentially worked for DSO my entire career. And I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm really passionate about real world workflows and anything that helps make our clinical days easier. So working clinically and as an educator, I feel like this is really important for hygienists to know and understand why products like these exist.
Thanks, Shawna. Katelyn, for the people in the audience, I think a lot of clinicians probably know Essential Dental Systems. Probably some don't. A lot of times they know the products, but not necessarily the company behind the solution. So can you talk a little bit about Essential Dental Systems?
Yeah, so Essential Dental Systems, or EDS, we've been around for over 50 years. We were created by two endodontists that started this company. And our mission has always just been to provide innovative, high quality dental products that make clinicians' lives easier and just improve patient outcomes overall. So we focus on creating solutions that streamline workflow, reduce chair time, and maintain the highest standards of care. Um, and DSRs are a big part of that because they operate on efficiency and consistency across multiple locations. So our goal is just to help them achieve that without compromising the quality.
I know we're going to talk about a specific clinical solution that you have, a clinical product, but can you run through some of the products that Essential Dental Systems manufacturers that maybe some of the clinicians in the audience may know or may even be using?
Yeah, so our most popular products, I would say, is our Flexi Post. Glove and Care is a big one that they don't really know that EDS is the company that created Glove and Care, and I think the whole office really loves that. Um, and then we have several different just endodontic products as well as restorative and now and hygiene.
Yeah, and I, as somebody that worked for a competing dental manufacturer, Flexi, and we sold a post system, several post systems. Flexi Post has a loyal following, and I remember that was a very difficult product to get anybody to switch from. If they were using Flexi Post, they tended to stick with it. So I know Flexi Post really well. Uh, so let's also talk a little bit about what you think, Katelyn, sets apart, EDS from maybe some other dental companies, dental manufacturers.
Yeah, so I would really say it's just our commitment to listening to clinicians and what goes on behind the scenes, what issues they're dealing with. So we don't just create products in a vacuum, so to speak. We work closely with the dental professionals to understand their pain points, and that's how innovations like TurboCR come to life.
Yep, and we're gonna talk about that right now, which I'm really interested in talking about, and I think it's going to be really impactful for the audience. Um, I I think that what I've noticed from EDS is that you're present at a lot of the group practice and DSO events. Your team is, and you also have some incredible training and support, which I think is critical. I think especially when it comes to DSOs and group practices, one of the biggest challenges is not so much the clinical solution. It might be a good solution, but is can organization on board and educate and train. And, that's why they have, obviously people like you, Caitlin, to kind of do that. And having that dental assisting background is great. So let's talk about the TurboCR calculus remover. Talk about why you think this is such a big deal and why it's so innovative.
So TurboCR, it's a calculus softener or calculus remover designed to really just make scaling faster, easier, and more comfortable for you and for your patients. Some key points that I really think make it stand out. Um, I would say it truly helps with the efficiency of the office. It's a simple 1 minute procedure that helps to remove the calculus significantly faster than your traditional hand scaling and ultrasonic methods. It's really easy to integrate TurboCR seamlessly into any existing workflows. So there's really no steep learning curve with it, which is great. It's entirely safe for the patient, so you don't have to worry about any contraindications with that. It's really gentle on both the enamel and the soft tissue, reducing the risk of damage. And then in addition to all of that, it's truly cost effectiveness. It's huge by helping cut down chair time and improve your profitability in your office. So, and just from what I've heard of clinicians who have actually tried it, they just say it's a game changer for both the productivity in the office and then also for your patient comfort, which is huge.
Well, Shawna, what's your feedback since you're the one that is would be using this?
I I love having it like in my toolbox when I have a difficult patient that I know I'm going to really have to get in there and put a lot of extra effort into. So those big chunk calculus patients, I can grab the TurboCR and place it, and like Katelyn said, in under a minute, have it to where it's softening the calculus, and it helps everything. The patient is not as anxious because I'm not really using a lot of pressure to try to remove the big amounts of calculus, and it's easier on me because I less hand fatigue. It just really helps with those cases.
Interesting. Okay. And Caitlin, how about feedback from your perspective? Like what are hygienists saying at the different group practices and DSOs that you're working with? What's the feedback been like? And I know one of the challenges is like, oh, you're adding another product, or this is something that may upset the hygiene workflow. It sounds like Shauna really talked about it just being something certainly simple that you can add in. It's only on a certain number of patients, where it might actually shorten the amount of time that it takes to do the hygiene treatment on that patient because you're using this 1 minute procedure. But what's the feedback been like, Kayla?
Yeah, we really haven't had negative feedback at all, which is not common in, I think, our field. We've had all positive responses, and truly, with adding, you had mentioned adding one more step into their already packed schedule sounds like a lot, but it is just a 1 minute procedure, and it's actually decreasing the amount of work that you're having to do. So it is making lives for hygienists, from what I hear, way better. And then as for just like DSOs and the office in general, I think the biggest feedback that we've gotten is that they love the consistency of the product. When you have multiple locations, standardizing care is critical. And so TurboCR really helps to achieve that because it's easy to train on and it delivers predictable results.
And Shauna, maybe you could give a little bit of feedback on this, but from the patient experience perspective, I mean, this seems like it, is a nice option where you have somebody that has really, really heavy calculus, where you're doing hand scaling and ultrasonics, and you really have to, go at it pretty hard. Is this a better from a patient experience perspective?
Yes, I've had patients that have mentioned that they've had deep cleanings in the past and they're very anxious. It was very painful. It was a long process. And so we're talking about all of this before I even get into their mouth. And I pull out the TurboCR and use that. And they're like, wait a minute, where has this been? How come that's never been used before? That didn't seem as intense. So patients are absolutely telling a difference between if we use it or not, or if I use it or not. And I've even had patients that have come back after their deep cleaning and are like, hey, are you going to use that stuff again? And I get to tell them no, because you don't have the amount of calculus that you had before. And they're kind of like, but it was really nice when you used that. So there's a whole conversation that we're having about it.
And from a workflow perspective, Sean, I mean, is there beyond just adding, this 1 minute procedure, is there anything additional? I mean, is it really, I would ask the question, is it disruptive? Is it relatively easy to train, hygienists on how to use it? What's the procedure like?
It's very easy. I was able to show the hygienists that I work with in my office, once I brought it to the office, how to use it, and that was it. I didn't have to come in and, they didn't have questions. Wait, I forgot how this step is. I forgot what to do with this. It was easy. The most complicated thing, I think, was attaching the gun, because as a hygienist, we don't really use those retractor guns. I'm not sure what they're called. So that was the hardest part. But after that, we each have our own, and it's fine. And anything that only takes me a minute that can knock off like 5 minutes of, me using my hand instruments and everything, I am a fan of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the patients appreciate it too. Uh,
Yes.
how about, Shawna, from your side of things, what's it like, when you're onboarding new clinicians? I mean, do you see that this is a relatively easy process, and what's that look like, especially if you're doing it across, multiple locations?
So as a DSO hygienist, we're always taking courses that are offered to help with workflow. So not just with, or not just throughout the office, but specifically within the hygiene appointment. So really focusing on, how we can deliver the best care to our patients without sacrificing quality. And, TurboCR is very easy. I think it would be very easy to onboard m- a whole hygiene department because it really is. It's just explaining the process of what Turbo CR does and then, showing the hygienist how to use it. And that's it. There's not um, like 17 steps to remember and a whole verbiage of science to go behind it. It's very easy. And the patients like easy, especially when we are already talking about so much new stuff in an appointment. Something that we can explain very simply to them and then use it and they see the difference is really cool.
And Shawna, back to you, as far as why you think TurboCR would be a good fit for a group practice, for a DSO in particular. Are there some takeaways, some things that if I'm maybe somebody that's running 10, 15, 20 locations and I have a group of hygienists, what are the things that would really benefit me? And maybe it's even talk from a business perspective. What's the value?
They're going to want to know, is the product reliable? Is it easy to use? Will it require a lot of training or are there additional certifications that have to be met? Or do you have to pay for the certifications? Is it cost effective? Overall, will it save time in the appointment? Or is it just, I don't want to say gimmicky in a bad way, but or is it just something that is not necessary, I guess?
You kind of touched on this earlier, Shauna. You talked a little bit about, hey, if this can save me, 5 minutes of hand scaling, or using an ultrasonic, or doing a deep cleaning. That's. I mean, is this a big issue for hygienists? And again, I think the hygienists probably know this, but I'm also talking to people in our audience, or I'm asking you the question so you can direct it to people in the audience that are maybe on the business side of things that don't necessarily understand, some of the challenges that hygienists have.
Yes, I know hygienists struggle a lot in offices about being able to get the correct amount of time to complete the treatment that is needed. So some offices are only allowing hygienists 45 minutes to complete a recall or an hour to complete 2 quads of SRP. And when it comes down to that, products like this can kind of help alleviate some of the stress, the anxiety of not having enough time because it will give you back a little bit of time. I don't think those amount of times are anywhere near the time that we need, but I know it's a struggle for hygienists out there.
Katelyn, I'm going to ask you kind of a wrap up question here, and also you, Shauna, as well, just to kind of get final thoughts. But one thing that we really didn't talk a lot about, and it's a question that's going to come up is, is it's going to save time. It sounds like it's going to be a better patient experience. It's easy to train and onboard. We like all those things. Um, is the additional cost, minimal? What's the cost on this? Because, and you don't necessarily have to give me a dollar amount, but just in general, because that'll be another question I think groups are going to want to understand.
Yeah, I feel like cost is always going to be at the top of mind for anything in the office, and with that, I mean, there's no, like you said, there's no dollar amount that I can put on it because it's going to depend on how much you use of the product per patient to determine how long the life is going to last. But it's going to be entirely minimal. I mean, pennies on the dollar if that can give you any sort of insight, just because your patients are going to be way more comfortable in their chair. They're going to be way more relaxed in an already tense environment that they're probably not wanting to be in. And then at the same time, you're helping your hygienist out. They don't have quite as much fatigue with it. They're saving time to do more notes, or to squeeze in another patient, or whatever that your guys' schedule may be. But then with that, the minimal costs that may be in including another product into your office is really minute in comparison to what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, and I think what's the value of saving, if we don't look at just one point, what's the value of 5 minutes of time, of Shawna's time as a
Yeah.
hygienist, whether she can, do something else, or it's just that stress and strain that's alleviated. So I think there's a lot of different things to kind of, you take into consideration. But yeah, it sounds like a really interesting, and we don't see a lot of, like, I don't know. I mean, this is like an innovative, different hygiene solution that you just don't really see a lot of innovation, I don't think. And Shauna, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, with hygiene products. So I really kind of think that this is uniquely placed, and one of the most important, if not the most important, part of dentistry is that hygiene check that they are supposed to get every 6 months. Um, so, Katelyn, final thoughts from you, and also contact information if people want to find out more about TurboCR, or if they want to contact you. What's the best way to do all that?
Yeah, so we are always offering free complimentary demos if that's something that someone was interested in. They're more than welcome to visit our website. That's just edsdental.com. Or they can always reach me by email. And that's just kshort@edsdental.com. And you can always reach out to us at either one of those places.
Okay, great. And we'll make sure we put all the contact information in the show notes. So again, it's EDS. So E Edward, D David, S San, edsdental.com. And Katelyn's email is kshort@edsdental.com. And request a demo for sure. And you'll see Katelyn attends a lot of the group practice and DSO meetings. So if you see her there, make sure you grab her. But don't wait for that. Reach out to her via email. Shawna, how about advice from your perspective for DSOs that are considering, new hygiene solutions, or different? Just any advice at all from a clinician?
As the clinician, I would say talk to your hygienist. Like, ask your hygienist if they've heard of products, if they are struggling with something, and see what kind of technology is out there. I feel like there's technology for everything nowadays. Um, just talking with them and seeing where they're struggling, I think is a huge, huge consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. Shauna, if people want to just contact you to learn more, or if they have any questions specific to hygiene, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I'm on social platforms as the Try RDH. And if you aren't on social platforms, you can email me at the tryrdh@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you, Shauna and Katelyn. And thanks everybody for listening to this podcast. Again, we will drop links in the show notes. Again, it's edsdental.com. TurboCR is the product. And yeah, it's nice to talk about a solution for hygienists. And this is, I think, something that, really is, it's simple. It's simple to implement, and I think it's going to make a really big impact on not just the patients, but also on your hygienist. Wouldn't it be nice to have your hygienist thank you? So with that, this is the Group Dentistry Now show. Until next time, I'm Bill Newman.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date on the latest DSO news, insights, and events. Also, subscribe to our DSO weekly e-newsletter at groupdentistrynow.com.